Hello, everybody. Welcome to another session of Adobe Data World 2025. My name is Leroy Steinbacher, and I'm happy to be here today to talk to you about data for marketing. Specifically, we'll look at how to supercharge your content supply chain using some of the traditional data content reuse functionality that you may typically think about for technical documentation. Again, my name is Leroy Steinbacher. I am a senior solutions consultant at Adobe, and my background is actually in technical communications. I worked many years as a technical writer as I got involved with working with structured content, specifically data XML. I moved over to the applications side of things and started working with migrating content to data XML, managing that content in a CCMS, and then publishing that content to various output types. So today, I'm actually happy to be here to talk about marketing because a lot of the use cases that are typically associated with data, meaning user guides, technical documentation, can also be associated with marketing content, specifically in the areas where there's a need for content reuse and saving time by using predefined content templates. So today we're going to talk about how to scale and how to personalize content using a high-powered content supply chain. We'll talk a little bit about the problems that marketers are facing and how structured content can help with some of those problems and make that content creation more efficient. Specifically, we'll be talking about some of the data features that will help with this, such as content reuse, how to repurpose various portions of a document, such as product descriptions and product claims. Specifically, that seems to be a marketing use case where, okay, we have claims about how our product is, and then we actually have to back up those claims with referencing material. A lot of times those need to be approved and available for reuse because they've been approved, and then they need to be able to use them and readily find them and use them in a number of different documents. The other common use case is rebranding product information. So a lot of times there may be not just one product, but several varieties of that product that you'll need to rebrand with maybe different product names and different product descriptions. This using product templates and content variables can help with that process by giving you a starting point so you're not working from scratch. And finally, we're going to take a look at omni-channel content generation. So let's say you have these documents. Maybe you need to deliver them in a number of different ways. Maybe you want them to go to a standalone website, or perhaps be populated within a knowledge base, or maybe you need a more of a traditional marketing PDF that is printable. So with omni-channel content generation, you're able to use the same single source and publish that content to a number of different output types. So finally, I will go through a sample document and do a live demo that demonstrates each one of these features. Okay, so common challenge that we're seeing today in the marketing world is that marketers are facing increasing pressure to deliver more campaigns at a greater scale and speed. So this requires a tremendous amount of content, and we're finding that some organizations are struggling to keep up with this demand, and this is a demand that's expected to grow fivefold in the next few years. So how do you address a challenge like that? So the one solution is setting up a content supply chain. And when we think of a content supply chain, we think of, okay, we have to create a lot of documents, right? Do we want to create these all from scratch, right? Where we have to handpick the things that we need or rewrite things that may already be written? Or do we want to actually have a content supply chain where we have some of these parts already created? Maybe some of these modules are already designed to set up reuse, designed to set up variables for specific things that may change over time. So that's where the data use case can really help out with this in terms of specialization, creating variables for things that may change, for content reuse, creating reusable components for things that are approved and ready to go, and then having templates in place. So instead of starting from scratch, I can say file new and I have a lot of these pieces already in place ready to go. So the first thing we'll look at is content reuse. So content reuse within data can really help you repurpose content at any given level. You can reuse levels at the topic level. You can reuse content at a paragraph level. And at that smaller level is specifically where you can reuse common product descriptions and common claims. So, like we mentioned, maybe you have a common topic that is going to be the same. And again, a topic is just a reusable piece of information that's standalone. Maybe you have some generic boilerplate content that goes in all of your marketing materials. That can be reused, and it can also be included in your template. Common elements, this could be at a paragraph level. This could be at an itemized list level. This can be at a cross-reference level, and it could even be at a footnote level. And that could be very helpful, especially if you have content that is a claim, and then that claim has to be referenced for supporting that claim. There's also the ability to reuse product names. So let's say that you have a product name that you want to have throughout your content, but let's say maybe it has to be changed slightly for a product variation, or maybe you're rebranding. Then you'll be able to reuse that product name instead of copying and pasting it individually in all the places that need it. And we already talked about these other items here, reusable list items for product claims, and then the ability to reuse not just those list items, but the footnotes that reference the material to support those claims. And here's an example of this within the AAM's guide authoring environment. You're able to create reusable content libraries. So you can have your reusable content organized. Maybe I want to have a collection file or a library file that contains all my claims, right? That's where I can have these all within a dialog box where I can look for my ID to see which element I want to reuse, or I can actually do a search for any of the text or the keyword within those claims. Same thing for product details. Maybe I have some common paragraphs that I want to use to describe my product. Maybe I have some common paragraphs that I want to use for, where the context of that product is, whether it's the industries it's used in or the people that use it. And having these libraries set up and already in place makes it much easier to, when you're creating new content, reuse existing content that's already there. Because part of the problem is not just reusing it, but reusing it in a place where you can find it instead of having to search through a lot of different places to find that reusable content. Content templates. So this gives you the ability to have a starting point. So I'm not just saying file new with a blank screen and I'm going to start from scratch. I can actually say file new at a document level and create what we call a map template. And that map template then can already have some references in place for common information that may already be in a reusable topic, like that boilerplate topic we talked about, or maybe it can reference some other topic templates themselves. So maybe I want to say, okay, I want a new document, but within this new document, I want a couple new topics that are new, but still follow a certain model and have certain pieces in place. And then within this map template, we can also predefine our map definitions, our key definitions, or essentially their variables, right? Instead of having to, every time you create a new document, go through the pain of, okay, let me set up my key definition file. Now let me reference that as a key def in my map. You can already have that built into your template. So your commonly used variables are already in place, not just in the definition of those variables, but in the usage of those variables in your reusable topics and maybe your new topic templates. And then within those topics, then that's where you can have con key refs is what we call them. Instead of a content reference, we're doing a con key ref, or basically a con variable reference. So now instead of pointing to, let's say, a static product name that's in my content reuse library, I'm pointing to a product name that's defined by my document at the map level using those key definitions. So that really helps, put together a lot of these pieces that may take time normally if you had to do it from scratch. You can build that all into a template, and then when you create your new document, it's a lot less work getting started on that new content. The other option that you have when you're creating new content is to create content snippets. And a snippet is essentially, it's a chunk of data elements within a structure that's commonly used. And we'll look at an example of that in the demo as well. So let's say I want to create a complex table, or I want to create some content that has a structure. Instead of entering all those elements individually, I can have a small little snippet that contains a lot of that structure that I already want in place. So I can say, basically pull that structure in and then modify it as I need to with new content. And here's an example. It's a screenshot of showing the templates screen, the templates interface, where you can create map templates, you can create topic templates, and then, for example, this is this content supply chain map that we're going to look at the demo. You can see it's got some key definitions already defined. It's got a few topics that it's pointing to, and these topics are actually also topic templates. So these are file new topics. So you get a new map and you get some new topics with already some structure in place. And then if you have some existing content that's going to be boilerplate, you can also add that topic reference within your map template. So you're already pointing to a piece of content that's static, already in place, ready to use. And then finally, once you've created this new content, then you have the ability to publish that content and deliver it in a number of different ways to get your content to market faster within multiple delivery channels. So an example of this, when you're publishing from AEM Guides, you have the ability to publish directly to AEM sites. You can create a standalone site, or you can actually publish that content to a site that acts more like a knowledge base. You also have the ability to publish that content to a more traditional PDF. Within AEM Guides, there is actually a template that allows you to create your own styles and page layout for native PDF, and that's something that can be built right into the system and part of your publishing supply chain. And then from traditional publications, maybe you want to take that content and publish it as HTML, so it could be delivered maybe in an app or an external delivery application. Or maybe you want to take just a small portion of that content and reuse it within a site. And that's where you have the ability within AEM Guides to publish a topic as what we call a content fragment. And then that makes that small piece of information reusable anywhere within any of your AEM site templates. So that way you'll have, like for instance, that boilerplate information will have a common single source where it's in your marketing material, but it can also be in your website. And when you make a change to the source, it gets updated not only in your documents, but in the website pages that use that same information. And finally, well, what happens if you have all of these output types and you make a change to something in your content and you have to republish everything? What AEM Guides does is it gives you the ability to put a number of different maps within what we call a map collection. And what that map collection does is it allows you to publish not just multiple documents, but multiple presets of those documents all at once. And what it'll also do is monitor that content as it changes, and it'll trigger. It says, hey, maybe this paragraph that's used in 5 different documents has changed. Your map collection will say, okay, this content has actually changed since the last time we published this output. Do you want to regenerate it? And then you have the opportunity to regenerate your outputs, not just individually, but you can do a whole batch within the collection. And here's an example of this, again, from AEM Guides, where you're publishing from your map console. You may have a number of output presets for each document in place. So maybe I want to publish to AEM sites, maybe I want to publish to native PDF, or a number of different output types. You can have those all available within your map console for publishing. And then you can also add those presets, those maps and presets, to a map collection. So you can have different documents. Right now we're just showing one, and all the different presets associated with those. So you're able to batch publish those together as changes are made. Okay, so now for the rest of the presentation, I'm actually going to go into the tool and look at some sample documents and give you a demo of the items that we've discussed so far. Let me just change screens here real quick. All right, so now we are on the landing page of AEM Guides, Adobe Experience Manager Guides. And you can see here on this landing page, I have a home page that says welcome. It's personalized for my name. It also gives me some recent files that I've worked on, any tasks that I may have signed to me in Workfront, and then any collections that I may want to have as a reference. So collections can be like smart searches or favorites or just things that I want to look at. Maybe I want to see content in a way that's not just typically within the folder structure that you would see in assets. I can, put different pieces of content together in collections in order to get to them quicker, or for different reasons. So I already have a sample in place that I want to use for this presentation. It's based on some marketing materials for AEM guides. So if I click on this shortcut to a document that I recently had open, it'll open up my document map, which has my topics. And then you can see in the author screen, I have a preview of what that content looks like. So typically when I'm, analyzing content to see what do I want to, how do I want to make this most efficient moving forward? That's when I do kind of a content analysis and look at the various pieces of content. That's why I want to think about, for example, what pieces of this content is most likely to change frequently or that may vary across similar documents. And what I see right away is the product title, AEM guides. Maybe there's going to be a variation of that product, and I want to call it something else. And a lot of times there's also long versions of those product titles. So we could have a short version and a long version. So you can see here in different places we have AEM guides, and in other places we have AEM spelled out. Other things that may change, maybe the icon. This is actually the icon on the landing page of AEM saying, hey, this is the link that takes you to guides. Maybe that will change over time. And then most likely your version number is likely to change quite often. So what you'd want to do is you want to set your content up ready to make those changes easier and make those changes so if you have to make the change, you do it in one spot, and then every place else that uses that change is updated. And then within a specific document like this, maybe the change doesn't affect all the documents. Maybe my content reuse, I want to be limited to just this document. And that's where we'll talk about these product level keys that are defined at the very beginning of the map. So if you take a look at, we're going to go ahead and edit this topic so we can expose some of the content. You can see everything in blue is content reuse. So this is a common paragraph that's used in a number of different documents. Here's some key variables that we're using for the product name, both the long version of that name and the short version of that name. And then here is the version of that. And so just so you can see how that content can be updated at the map level, I'm just going to go ahead and click on this key definition. And basically, when you're looking at maps, you have different types of, I'm going to just go ahead and switch this over to author view. You can see where you have typically you'll have traditionally topic refs that point to DOP topics, but then you could also have a key definition. And this key definition can also point to a particular topic, but that's going to use that topic as sort of a variable file to define the different dynamic variables that I have within this document itself. So if we go ahead and just open up this topic that has my key definitions, you can see here that this is a table that I've just organized just to show my reusable content. And this table itself doesn't ever show up in a document. I'm really just using it to identify what are the pieces within that content that I want to have as a variable or a key. And so you can see right now here, this AEM guides is it's a prod name. So that is my ID, it's my product name. And then product name long is the long version of that name. The version is identified here. That's ID version. And then this is my logo. So you can see all of these elements have unique IDs. So these IDs are defined within this file. And then when I make a key definition, I'm pointing to this file and I'm saying, okay, I want all of these variables to be defined within a key, and that key is product. So you can say, now I have a key, and I'm going to be able to use now these variables anywhere I want, but I just have to reference the key definition. So here's my ID, and here's my key, then I'm able to use those anywhere within the map. So going back to the document, we can see here that there's also some content reuse that's used at a paragraph level. So we have some focus industries. We have some target persona. Maybe these are going to be used in other documents as well. So along with this paragraph, we have some reusable component that's defined at a global level or master level. This isn't specific to this particular document, but it could be used in a lot of different documents that have the same focus industries or the same target persona. So looking a little further on in this document, if we go back to preview, we scroll down here. This next topic is actually where we have our product claims. So the first topic is basically product overview with some overview information. This topic gets into some more of the specific features of this product, the claims made about this product, and then also a reference to back up those claims. So you can see here we also have this product name as a variable in this topic as well. And then we have some more reusable components. So maybe this capabilities table is something common we want to use in a number of different documents. That's available within our content reuse library. And then also this is where we could have a series of claims that we want to make about this product. Some of these are standalone, but some of these we actually may want to have a footnote that'll be like, okay, this is the reference information that supports this claim. And the thing is, maybe some of these claims will have the same reference. So maybe the claim for this, maybe the reference for this claim is very similar or the exact same as the reference for this claim. You can reuse those footnotes within the same document. And the nice thing is it'll number those automatically. And then it will, if you make a change to any of those sources, it'll automatically get updated in all the different topics that use those claims and include the references for those claims. And then finally, if we scroll down a little further on in this document, maybe there's going to be a generic topic that is used for a number of different documents. And so this is basically a boilerplate topic. It's in my content reuse, but I'm reusing it at a topic level. But you'll notice even if my reusable topic, maybe I still want to allow for the ability to have variables. So, okay, this is going to be a generic topic used everywhere, but maybe I want to have the ability to have specific product names within this topic depending on the context of what map it's used in. So that's just kind of an overview of this document and how we're using content reuse. And based on the analysis of what we were seeing, these are the different levels. These are the different areas we can structure and set up for reuse, either at a topic level, at a paragraph level, and then also the ability to include product variables within all of these topics. Okay, so now that we have our sample document ready to go, we've done some reuse at different levels. The next thing we want to do is take a look at the published output of this content. So we want to be able to publish this content in a number of different ways to meet the needs of all of our audiences. So if we have the map open within the map editor, all we have to do to then publish is then take a look at what we call the map console. And the map console within AEM Guides exposes a number of different tools that are used to author and manage content at a document level. So there's reports, there's baselines for release management. Maybe you want to have some condition presets. These are all things that you can set up that are in relationship to that map or that document that we have open. So just to look at some of the output presets we already have in place, and these can be defined at a global level or it can be defined at a folder level. You can have a number of different presets as needed for your different document types. The first preset we have here is an AEM site. So we're publishing this content to a website, and I already have this generated, so we'll go ahead and view the output. We click on this tab, you can see this is essentially that document, and that document is published to be a website, standalone website. So the title of the document is the title of the site. Each one of the high-level topics are essentially a chapter with a tile, and then we can go into the content and we have our navigation. Here's our overview topic. Here's our topic with claims, and here's our generic topic that is used throughout multiple documents, although it does have specific use of a product name, and we'll see when we change that when we build new content. But one thing to look at is within these claims, we have some footnotes. then these footnotes are meant to be a reference to that claim. So you can see what happens is when you publish this content, the text that was within that footnote then becomes published at the bottom of the page, and then the footnotes are numbered as they encounter new ones. So if we had 3 or 4 footnotes, it would automatically number those in order that the footnotes appeared on the page. But you can see we have 1, 2, but then we have another footnote down here that's actually reusing the one from up here. So we'll take a look at the content when we create a new document to see how that actually works. If we want to reuse the entire paragraph and the footnote, or if we're using that twice, we want to just maybe reuse the reference that points to that footnote. And then also, if we look at some of our other output types, we have the ability to publish this document to a knowledge center. So instead of a standalone site, it is really adding this publication of this document to a site that is more of a portal that has a number of different products. So you can see here when we look at this, we're actually opening up this site within this document, but this is actually, we're adding when we publish this document to a number of other documents that may be different variations of those products. It may be different types of documents, covering those products. Essentially, it's just a collection of documents on a website instead of a standalone website. And so what that allows you to do is if you're searching for specific information, you're not limited to just that one document. You can go to the home page and you can see that there's a number of documents there. You can search throughout all those documents and then also have all that information in one place within a knowledge center. And then finally, the last output type would be PDF. So if we go back here to our presets, you can see we have a preset for native PDF. This is where we can choose our template that we want to use. And I've got just a basic template that I have for publishing marketing type material. So you can see when we publish that PDF, same content, it's just a different style with the custom header for this particular document. This is just a 1-column document, but you could set up your page templates to be 2 columns. You can have some content that spans columns. You can use different colors, different fonts, different font sizes, whatever you want to do to change the output of that PDF or the look and feel of that PDF. You can modify that within the AEM Guides native PDF editing tool. But this is just an example of with one document, you're able to publish to a number of different output types. So let's say I was going to make a change to this content, and I'm going to have to republish everything. That's where we have another tool, and I'm just going to open up another tab here, and we have another tool within Guides that's used for managing publications within what we call a map collection. So from our home screen, we can go from home, and we can see that we have a link that will take us directly to what we call map collections. And if we click on these map collections, you can see that we've already created a map collection for content supply chain. And within this collection right now, I've only added one document, but you could have a number of different documents. So when we create another new one, I'm going to add this to this map collection, but you can see we have all of our presets already in place, and it'll indicate the last time that we published that output. It'll also tell you whether or not that content has changed since the last time that output was published. So what we're able to do then, if we make a change to any of those topics and we want to publish everything again, we can select all of our presets for this particular map and additional maps that we want to add to this collection, and it'll automatically generate that output for as many different documents that you want to include together in a collection. And basically, if you have common information, you'd probably want those to be within the same collection because one change could affect multiple documents. Okay, so let's say we have now published this content. We're happy with our AEM Guides marketing document, a little overview. We have some claims with references, and then we have a generic topic. Let's say now we have to create a new version or a new doc based on this, but for a new product. That's where we can go over to the templates tool. So right now, if we go back to the editor, you can see we still have our first initial document open in the Map Console. But what I want to do is I want to take a look at the templates tool because I want to create a new template for a starting point. So I want to take the good stuff that I've got in this document right now and set it up for reuse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a map template, and that one map template is going to be for, let's say, new products. So I'm just going to go ahead and open this up so we can see what it looks like. And this is giving me the topics that I'm referring to in a preview. If I select preview, so you can see in this template, I have an overview section, and I have a topic for claims, and then I have that generic topic that's used across a lot of different documents. This overview section I can modify as needed, pulling in or removing some reusable components at an element level. Same thing for my claims. I've got a starting point. Now we'll go ahead, when we create something new, show how we can pull in some new or reusable claims to and references to support those claims. And then finally, we'll show how within this topic, we are able to take an existing topic and we're able to then pull that in, because this is boilerplate. It's used in a lot of different documents. But the one thing to note within these templates is this one already exists. These two I want to create from scratch, or not from scratch, but I want to create these from a templates because I want some building blocks already in place. So under my templates menu, I have a area for map templates. Here's my map template, and then I have a area for topic templates. And within my topic templates, I've already created a folder for CSE, Content Supply Chain. So then these are my topics that are available for templates. So when I create file new, I'm getting a new map, but I'm also getting new versions of these particular topics that I want to be reusable components in my content. So I have a new version of product key definitions. So I can define new product names, new product version, new product image, and that's going to be the source of my variable that will be used throughout the document. And then the map template already has the reference to that in place. So I don't have to redo that whole mechanism of defining a key and defining those key variables. Now I can just go ahead and take this existing one and change them as needed. My other new topic would be a template for claims. Again, this has some reusable components in it already, but then when I create a new one, I can also add additional claims and references as needed. And then finally, going in reverse order, this is my new product overview. So you can see I do have some reusable components, like this paragraph in blue is reusable. These product names are variables. And then when I create a new document, all of these building blocks are already in place. So I'm not having to create all of these things from scratch every time I want to create a new product information document. So I'm going to go ahead and close these. Okay, and then I have now, I want to create a new product description document for, let's say, a new version of a CCMS that's maybe special for a certain area, a certain region, or a certain audience. So as a marketer, I've been tasked, we need a whole new document for AEM guides, but I think we're going to rename AEM guides. We're going to make it something a little bit fancy. So we're going to call it AEM, let's call it AEM Superfine CCMS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, I've already added some of my folders to my favorites. I have a folder for where I'm working on some content. And so I have already some folder structures in place for my common content, my content reuse, my media. And you can see where I've done some testing. And here I'm going to create a new folder for my new document. And it's going to be AEM, AEM Superfine CCMS. All right, and now within this folder, I'm going to create a new document, but instead of creating a new map and new topics from scratch, I'm going to use that map template that we just looked at. So I'm going to say new data map and give it also the same name, a Superfine CCMS. But what I'm going to use for my map template is I'm going to use that new product template that we just created, or we just looked at. All right, so I'm creating a new document based on the template that we just looked at. And so now if we look in this folder, we have the new map, but look, we also have new versions of these topic templates that we want to use within this map. So now we have a starting point. I'm going to roll up my sleeves and start working on some new content. I'm going to double click on this map, and that's going to open up my new map now in my map editor. And now it's time to start changing some of my variables. So I know all my product variables are in this first topic. I'm going to double click on this, and this is where I'm going to start making content changes. So instead of AEM guides, it's going to be AEM. Oh, I have to unlock it first so I can make some changes. It's going to be AEM. Get my cursor in there. AEM Superfine CCMS. And then I'm going to have a long version of that. Also, I'm going to replace guides with Superfine CCMS. And then this is going to be version 6.0. So make that change. And then I think we're also going to have a new logo, or it's a new icon to click on to get to that tool. So again, I'm going to go to my content supply chain, pull the content that's already in place, ready to go. So for my image, I just need to now browse. And that's going to take me to my image media library. So I'm going to select my Superfine logo. And there you have it. So now we have these specific product variables have been changed within the key definitions. And I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller. 80 is going to be proportional. Great. So I'm now going to save this as a new version. It's version 1.1. Now if we go over to, and I'm going to just go ahead and close this because we've made all the changes we want to make. If I now go to, I'm going to go ahead and unlock it. Now if we go over to our new document and we click on preview, you can see that now everywhere we had a key for the product name has been updated, the long version of it, Superfine CCMS, and the short version of it, AEM Superfine CCMS. So that's the nice thing is, all the places that use the product name, whether it's long or short, are now automatically updated based on that change to that key value. The other thing we can do now is to modify this content. So let's take a look at the overview topic. I'm going to go ahead and edit this topic. So this is our new product overview. I want to put a different name in here, but I don't want to type it by hand. So what I can do actually is just delete new. Again, I have to unlock it. I can delete new product. And instead of typing it by hand, I actually do want to reuse my variable. So I'm going to put my variable up here. So now I've got, notice even the style changed because it's in the context of a title versus the context of a paragraph. So now I've got my new title for my overview. Short description, I think I'm going to keep that. This is a reusable paragraph that has this product name built in. I think I'm going to use that as well, but here I want to put in a new description. So, maybe, I have my product name here, but this is some content that I know is going to change, and I already have some text that will prompt me to do that. So I'm just going to say new information about CCMS. All right. And so I've made some change to this. Now I'm working on this content. I'm going to save it. And, maybe I want to also pull in some other reusable content that I may have in my reusable content library. And that's the one thing we haven't looked at yet. If you click over here and you're working on content, you can have reusable content libraries that can have different pieces of information for different purposes. So you can see here, I have some reusable contents for my product details page, which I have open here. If we look here at this paragraph, we can see that this ID, if I select this paragraph, we can see that this ID is, if I look at my details, is this conref. And this conref is this ID that points to this content within this collection file. Let's say I want to add some more information, like we looked at in our first document. We had information about industries or information about the personas that would be using this content. Maybe I just want to pull in this information about industries, right? And I can do a preview here just to make sure I'm looking for what I want. And now I've added this content from my content supply chain. This is content that I know I want to include in this document. And this is where, if you select this paragraph, actually, if we go to the source, you can see that this paragraph is pointing to this particular ID within this reusable content library. So we have a combination of new text that's defined in a variable, some reusable content that still has some variables embedded, and then also some new content that we may want to modify specifically for this product, and then some other reusable components that we may want to add from our reusable content library. So there's our overview. We've got some new content in here. I'm going to save this as a new version. I'm going to unlock it. Now I'm going to work on some claims. So I've got some new product claims. I'm going to do the same thing in here where I'm going to put unlock it. I'm going to put my product name in my title. All right, and I'm going to keep this capabilities table, but now I want to look at some specific claims. And I have a collection of claims, and these claims have all been approved and reviewed and approved. So we know that it's the claim and the reference to that claim is what we want to be using. And so just for an example, I'm just going to drag one of these in here so we can see what it looks like. So you can see, okay, I have a claim. This one doesn't, and this one also has a footnote, a XREF that points to a footnote. But just to see what this content library looks like, I'm going to say edit reusable content. And then this gives us a better idea of what these claims actually look like. So the claim itself is a paragraph with an ID. So you can see this ID says author. This paragraph has a footnote, and then this is the footnote. This content will appear at the bottom of the page, and then here is actually a cross-reference that points to this footnote. So you can see here we have another claim here with another footnote, with another cross-reference that points to that footnote. But then I want to point out that in this last claim, and that's the one we just added, it's repeating the same footnote that we have above. So instead of getting additional number, I just want one number. I'm only including a cross-reference that points to it. So if we go again, and now let's say we want to also add this one because it's related, we want to add that author claim to our claim topic. So I know I want to find in my claim topic, I want to add that author claim, drag and drop it, make sure I'm putting it in the right spot. I think it was looking to go in the table. There we go. Okay, so now we have this claim. And again, this is not recopying, it's not copying and pasting. We're actually reusing reusable content that's approved. And since we have these footnotes dynamically numbered, we can add any number of footnotes with whatever order we need, so we don't have to manually make those changes. Can you imagine if you're doing it manually, you would have to modify the numbering. If you added a new footnote, you would have to change all the numbering after that. This makes it set up so you're able to reuse these claims, and you're able to manage all the features associated with them with the footnotes and cross references automatically as well. Okay, so we've got now our claims, a couple of claims and a couple of references. I'm going to save that as a new version and unlock it. And then finally, we do have the last topic, which is our generic topic that is used in a number of different documents. But if we edit this, you can see that that product name that we set up as a variable has been modified since we changed that within the map. So we're able to use this common topic that's used in a lot of different documents, but have it still personalized for the document that it lives in. So that way, it's not just it's generic, but it still is addressing and keeping track of the product name that this particular document is supporting. Okay, so we have created a new topic based on a template. We've added some content, pulling in content reuse. So now what we'd like to do then is show how we can publish this content in the same output types that we previously were looking at before. So if I go to my map console, you can see I have AEM sites. I'm going to just go ahead and generate that. We have the knowledge base, which is did a demo. I'm going to go ahead and generate that. And then also this is a new map. I didn't add my preset for native PDF, but I'm going to go ahead and do that now real quick. I want to say, PDF, native PDF, edit. And for layout, I want to make sure I'm pointing to my basic content supply chain. Save that and generate that output. So you can see now with those changes, we're able to republish this new version of this marketing document with our new product names, our new details. Some of these are reusable, some of these are specific to the topic. And then now we see we have some claims with our footnote. And again, this was the same footnote, so we're not getting another number. This is referring to the same footnote on the page. So if we were to look at it in this site, you can see, I don't want to have the same footnote with number 1, number 2. It's the same footnote. So then I have just my number 1 that points to it. And then if we look to see if the PDF is still generating, then what we can do now that we have a new document is we can go to our map collection, and we're able to say, all right, well, so I have a new document now. I want to add some content to this map collection. This is where I'm going to select this and say edit, and now I'm going to say maps and presets. I want to edit. I want to add maps, and so this is where I'm going to go to my folder where I just created that map. Superfine CCMS, so I'm adding Superfine CCMS. And you can see down here, this is where it's added that Superfine CCMS. And what it's going to do then, it's going to pull in all the presets that I may want to have available for any given map. But what I want to do here is I want to select just the ones that I want. So I'm going to deselect these. So I want to have native PDF, I want to have AEM sites, and then I want to have HTML5 and did a demo. So this way now, when I make a change to any of that common content, it's going to tell me that this content is modified. You can see right here, this is changed to yes. And then we want to then generate everything all at once, instead of having to individually publish each one of those output types based on a change to the source content. So if we go back to our map, let's just see if our PDF is done. Same template, so it's going to look very similar, although now we have our AEM Superfine CCMS product name, our common information, our unique information, and again the footnotes, where we have two footnotes that are actually referring to the same reference, so the numbering is the same. And here we are back again within AEM Guide. So now we have the ability to send this out for review, to add more content, to work on whatever is needed in a way that's a lot more efficient. So we're using reusable components, we're using variables, and then we're also creating our new content with content templates. So we have a starting point to build these documents where we can add variation or common things as needed, and then we have the ability to publish that content to a number of different output types. Okay, so to summarize today's session, we've seen how marketers can use DITA to supercharge their content supply chain. We've seen how content reuse libraries can be created for commonly used product descriptions and claims. We've also taken a look at how map and topic templates can be used to predefine content variables for product rebranding purposes. And we've also seen how content can be generated and delivered to multiple channels to reach your intended audience in different ways. Thank you so much for attending this session. If anyone has any questions or comments, feel free to contact me at lsteinbacher@adobe.com. Thanks again. Enjoy the rest of your day.